Good morning to you. Hello, everyone. Speaking from the inside of my automobile once again. Happy to be here on this beautiful morning where the birds are singing. The sky is clear right now. Believe it or not, the moon is still up. It's a full moon tonight, marking the time when we may have started a war again with another country in the Middle East. Wars on every side. Wars in the Middle East, wars attacking our own citizens, wars and violence everywhere. And we begin to wonder just what's going on with this new axis of evil, the United States, the UK, and Israel. In these troubling times, in these trying times, we have to find ways to cling to our sanity. We have to find ways to remain peaceful with all of the craziness going on around us. We have to find ways to let go of the lies and hold on to what is true. Church and state working together in order to destroy the things that most of us have worked to bring about for most of our lives, even since the 50s, the 60s, even before that, before World War I, when the robber barons had people just about enslaved and people began to struggle to free themselves after they went to other countries during World War I and saw there were other ways of living that were just as good. And so the struggle continues. But what I want to talk about is ways of dealing with this struggle, you see. In order to deal with this struggle, we are going to have to really go deep within ourselves. People talk about following their intuition or following their heart. The problem in our culture is that it's almost impossible to do that because we have been shaped, brainwashed, manipulated in order to think that we're following our heart when all we're following are some dictates that have been given to us by someone in power who wanted us to be like them. They were not evil. They were not trying to destroy us. They were not trying to hurt us. They were doing what they felt was necessary in our society to survive, and they may have been right for that time period. You see, when we were young, when we were growing up, when we needed to make our way in the world, they had to prepare us for the world as it is, not as it should be. But something happened as a result of that. It influenced our minds. It influenced our thinking. It created a persona that's not really who and what we are. A persona that says, I have to win, I have to be on the top. If I'm not better than someone, I have no worth. I have no dignity. The persona that makes one jump in when they see a kind, wonderful person being persecuted instead of protecting that person. That is the major persona. But alongside of that, we see the other one, the person who jumps in to protect the person who brings the light of the Spirit into the world, who brings forth love and kindness and peace no matter what the circumstances. The type who worked on the Underground Railroad, hiding and caring for enslaved people, or the ones who worked hiding people in Nazi Germany who were being killed just because they were Jewish. The types now trying to stop immigrants from being kidnapped and sent to prisons so that those who are making a lot of money can make a profit on bodies of innocent people. And eventually you'll know that they'll start making those innocent people work for $1 a day, as they are in some of these prisons, which is just another way to enslave people. Yes, those who are fighting against this are of the same spirit as those who fought against the Nazis, those who fought against the slavers, those who rise up age after age to fight against the darkness with the light that shines brighter and brighter with each thought, feeling, action, and emotion. And so it is when we cleanse our hearts that we can begin to live our hearts. And the way that we can do this is through much thought, meditation, contemplation, and a major way of doing this is through awareness. It is by looking at the world and daring to see the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. It's daring to see all of the pain and suffering that's been brought about in this world by many of the institutions we came to love and admire. Just by looking at the U.S. history, we can see that the country was built on genocide and slavery. It's terrible and painful to acknowledge that, and to acknowledge that even as people were fighting for freedom and justice, there were those behind closed doors still depending on slavery in other forms to exploit the world. If they couldn't do it in this country, they'd go and start up institutions or pay institutions in other countries to enslave people, to dig for gold and minerals and to grow food for them that they would ship here to undercut our farmers. It's very painful to realize that the Christian church, especially the Protestants, have always aligned themselves with capitalists and the raising of money and teaching people that they were put on this earth to work, as Jonathan Edwards taught the Pilgrims, to work and produce, to enslave oneself in the name of God and to give 10% of that wealth, of course, to the church, and to give one's duty and life work to the church, to cry and to repent for the killing of Jesus because we were supposedly born as sinners, when that, of course, is untrue. It is a line taken out of context where the prophet is talking with the people of Israel who are about to commit atrocities, and the prophet talks to these people right there saying, you were born in sin and shaped in iniquity. That's like you talking with your child who has a room that is dirty and saying, you have a real problem, you're filthy and you need to learn to clean things up. And then all of a sudden they take that and write it down, and you go to a whole group and you say, see, it says here, you are filthy and you need to clean things up. What am I saying? The church has been lying to us in order to create guilt, so that we do the work that they want in order to think that we're cleansing ourselves. You may say, oh, he's a sinner. I say this, take a look. Who led slavery in the United States and fought to keep it? Southern Baptists. Who created white to divide the black indentured servants, the Native Americans, and the white indentured servants, so that they could create a race called white with people who would help suppress other people, the Episcopalians, who went out all over the territories in the West, converted Native Americans, and then when they were going to the hospital for help, sterilized the women without them knowing it, kidnapped the children, tried to change their culture, killed them, beat them, raped them, and abused them, and buried them in unmarked graves that are just being found today. The church. And I know that it's not everyone in the church. There are many people, many powerful people who came out of it. There's think of people like Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson, most of the Methodists who were abolitionists, the Unitarians who were fighting against slavery, the Quakers who smuggled out the Jews and were involved with the railroad, underground railroad. These were all great people, and they came out of the church. But as a whole, it has done much more damage than the few people who have worked not to save others, but to save the church itself. It has fallen. And the only way for it not to be fallen is for people inside of it to fight to bring forth the truth, to bring forth light and hope, to study and prove themselves a workman worthy of dividing the word of truth. Is that not what the Apostle Paul says? One needs to study and study that which is uncomfortable. And when one has studied it, one will find that many of the myths and the traditions that we have learned have been altered or invented so that the mighty and the powerful could have ultimate and complete control over us and could own what we consider to be God, could step in the middle between us and our idea of truth and wisdom in God and alter it as necessary. It's time for us to go through what Matthew Fox calls a via negativa, the path of the negative. We're going along positively, and then something happens that shakes our faith, that shakes our world up. It takes us to a dark place, and it shows us that the path we are on is false. It shows us that the things we believed in were not true. It forces us to adjust, to change, to move on to a parallel timeline where we grow. We become transformed. Our sense of being and understanding broadens. We become better people. This happens over and over again in our lives. The pain and the suffering comes not as punishment or even to teach us anything. It comes to show us that we are on the wrong path and to show us that what we believe is incorrect and needs to be corrected. It is part of the growth process, you see, as the seed in the ground is in the hard shell, comfortable there, devouring whatever food is within the shell. But once the food runs out, there is tragedy, suffering. It's forced to break through its shell and push upwards until it reaches the surface, and it's still forced to push it upwards because it needs something else, and it finally reaches up to the life-giving sun, where it grows and it prospers and it brings forth much fruit. We now, as a human race, are like a seed. We're ready to burst. All of the things that we have been taught to soothe us and make us feel good about ourselves and the world and think that we can predict things, they're all consumed. People can see that they're not true. YouTube, the internet, all this social media tells us that the things we believed about our country and other countries are not only inaccurate, but are lies, deceptions, and we're left within this hard, empty shell, having to either break free or rot and suffocate. I'm ready to break free. How about you? And the first step, as I said, is the cleansing of the heart. And you can do that. We can all do that by doing two things. One is practicing meditation and contemplation to deal with the stress that will come as we do part two. Visiting YouTube channels that have been shadow banned, the ones that are hidden, the ones that are hard to find, and listening to what these people have to say. You can start with Real News or Chris Hedges, many other people like that, and you will find the truth that will set you free. Better yet, share this channel. Subscribe to this channel. Talk about this channel. Leave comments and question this channel. Go to our website. Learn about some of the things we're doing. And as the good book says, you will know the truth. And the truth will set you free. Sometimes the truth is uncomfortable though, so we fall back on meditation and contemplation to handle the truth and to create the new, larger, divine self that is the real you and I. Namaste, folks. More information about us below. Thanks for visiting us at our WOCG, War of Compassion Guild YouTube channel.